Alright, what's going on, guys? It is XLT here, bringing you back another video on my channel, and today we're just going to be talking about some news that broke in the NFL as of yesterday. I know I should have been on top of it and made a video yesterday, but I wanted to see if more details were going to come out about the trade, because there were some question marks up in the air, and I wanted to get those details to make a better evaluation and a better, more thought out process of the trade. But those details, I guess, aren't going to be released for a while, so I might as well just make the video. And if you guys can't guess about what this trade is, if you haven't heard about it already, the Kansas City Chiefs, my hometown team, are going to be sending their star franchise cornerback Marcus Peters to the Los Angeles Rams, which is absolutely insane. At first I didn't really understand why they were doing it, or what like my initial reaction to the trade was just why. That was the only word I can think of, was why. I didn't really understand it, but now I've read some articles, done some evaluating, really thought about what the state of the franchise is at this moment, and it kind of started to make a little bit more sense to me, but still it's kind of mind-boggling and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard for me to understand as a Kansas City Chiefs fan, but we're just going to be jumping into this and breaking down what I think about the trade. Alright, so I've got some points up on the screen right here that I want to talk about, and the first point that we're going to be talking about is why they traded Marcus Peters. I've read some articles and I've done some researching over the last, read some articles that have been written over the past couple of years, and a lot of them have just said that he hasn't really gelled with the coaching staff or with the coaches or with the front office, and he has kind of been a nuisance on the field. He's gotten a lot of penalties, and he's gotten suspended from some games as of last year. I don't really know what caused this tantrum, but I guess he thought that he had evolved into one of the league's best corners and that he should be treated like that, and I definitely believe that he is one of the league's best corners. I'd give him a top 5 rating in terms of corners. I think he's very, very good. He's the best ball hawking corner in the NFL, in my opinion, but they came to trade him, I think, because Clark Hunt just thought he wasn't going to be a name that he wanted to pay big money to in the upcoming off seasons. He just didn't want to have to stick with this guy who caused the team a lot of trouble and a lot of penalties, and kind of screwed them a little bit in terms of games and suspensions and stuff like that, not being on the field. Because if you can't keep yourself under control enough to where you can't stay off the on the field, then you're better off in another place, I guess, is what Clark Hunt was thinking. So that's why I think they traded Peters, or I guess why they traded Peters. And the next thing I want to talk about is the projected picks. They haven't said where the picks are, like what years, what rounds, what number of pick it is, but I do, in my opinion, I think that Marcus Peters is worth about 4 to 5 picks total. I know that's a lot, but Marcus Peters is one of the best corners in the NFL. You've got to remember, he's better than any secondary player on the Rams team. He's better than LaMarcus Joyner, John Johnson, now Tremaine Johnson, I think is his name. It may or may not be Tremaine Johnson, and then there's Nickel Roby-Coleman, Kayvon Webster. He's better than any of those guys combined, probably. I mean, maybe they'd make a superhuman, but Marcus Peters is better than all of those guys. So I think if you're going to trade for a franchise corner, you should be willing to give up a lot of picks. I'm hoping it's somewhere between the 3 and 5 range. 3, if it's on the 3 side, I'd want it to be higher round picks. If it's somewhere between 4 and 5, I'm okay with 2 higher round picks and then some later picks, just like in the 4th or 5th round, 5th or 6th round, stuff like that. But if it is somewhere in the 5 pick range, I want to get a first or a second rounder, or 2 first rounders, and then a lot of late picks. And if it is 5 picks, this is what I have the feeling of. If it's 5 picks, I want it to be 2 this year and then 3 next year. But if it's going to be 4 picks, I want it to be 2 this year and 2 next year. I don't really know what it is. I don't think anybody knows yet. There hasn't been any reports that have come out about what the picks are projected to be at, what year, what number, anything like that. They don't have a next year's second round pick, so they may be giving us this year's second rounder and then some other picks, but we won't know until the new league year, I think, is when they're going to release these details. So that's when everybody else's know, and that's when I will let you guys know as well, and I'll probably come out with another reaction video around then, but that's not for a couple weeks, so we'll find out then. The next thing I want to talk about is the effect of this trade on the LA Rams. God, it's so weird that they're the Los Angeles Rams. Every team in the NFL ought to just move to the West Coast and just play in California, because that's what everybody's doing. But the effect that it's going to have on the Los Angeles Rams, they add a franchise corner who is kind of a missing piece on their defense. I think they've got a really good front 7 with Robert Quinn, Connor Barwin, Aaron Donald, Michael Brockers. They've got some good linebackers that I think linebacker is a need that they could address in this year's draft, but it's not a super deep linebacker class, but they could get one in the second round, I think. But corner is another need that they should address because Tremaine Johnson hasn't really been their guy, I guess. He's been a good cornerback, but he hasn't been a franchise cornerback. Whenever they lost they were a very good defense when they had Tremaine Johnson and Janoris Jenkins. Losing Janoris Jenkins kind of took a step out of that defense, kind of took a chunk out of it, like an element that they don't have anymore. And I think that Marcus Peters adds that and a lot more because he is better than Janoris Jenkins. He's better than a lot of corners in the NFL. And like I said earlier, he's better than any corner that the Rams have on their roster. So I think if the Rams go out, draft him, draft a guy like Isaiah Oliver, Josh Jackson if he falls, which there's no way I think he does. But if they draft a guy like Dante Jackson, who's the other guy I just said, Isaiah Oliver, Carlton Davis, if they draft a guy like that and pair him across from Marcus Peters, I think that that'll be a very good combination. And you have a guy like Nikel Roby-Coleman, who's a very good nickel corner, slot corner, and a guy like LaMarcus Joyner, who can slide from safety to corner if in terms of like packaging and injuries, if those happen and stuff like that. So it affects them very well, and I think it adds a piece to their defense that they were missing and that they need to get back into the playoff push. You can tell that this team really does well. They did make the playoffs, and they really want to be a good team as their offense has grown to be one of the more prolific in the NFL over the last year with the emergence of Jared Goff, Robert Woods. Oh my gosh, what's their tight end's name? Gerald Everett's very good. Tyler Higbee's very good. Todd Gurley, who I thought was a very good running back this year, and it was an MVP caliber player. I don't think Tom Brady deserved it at all, but if I wanted anybody to win it, it would be Carson Wentz. But a lot of people said, oh, injury, that automatically knocks him out of the race. So if it wasn't going to be Carson Wentz, I wanted it to be Todd Gurley. And I think that offense is very good. They just really need to work on the defensive side of the ball. I think adding Marcus Peters does a lot to that defense. And the effect that this trade has on Kansas City is kind of negative in terms of PR, personal relations, and just what this effect has on the community and Chiefs fans in general. This is not a good trade at all. There's a lot of Chiefs fans who are mad on Twitter saying, oh my God, I can't believe this. You trade Alex Smith, you cut Derek Johnson, and now you're trading Marcus Peters. Like, what the heck is this organization doing? I understand they want to get younger. They don't necessarily want to just tear down and rebuild like the Cleveland Browns, but they do want to start building around their younger pieces. And trading for Kendall Fuller, I thought was great. I thought him and Marcus Peters, they were going to be, that's probably the second best corner duo in the NFL, or third best in the NFL. Like, I thought that was a great trade. And now that Marcus Peters isn't there, I guess it's time for Kendall Fuller to step in and be like a full-time number one corner. So I mean, that's a good trade for him because now he gets the spotlight and now he gets to develop and show that he really is one of the better corners in the NFL, and I think that's good. And I misspoke in the video that I made when that trade happened. I said he was like 24. He's only 22 years old, which is absolutely insane. I can't believe he's that young, but he's young. We got rid of our older quarterback who's 34 to get a younger cornerback who is, I think he's only 23. I think Patty Mahomes is only 23, and that's good too because so he's young. We've got a second-year running back. Tyreek Hill's only like 25, I think. Travis Kelce's only like 26. All of our weapons are very, very young and in their prime, besides Patty Mahomes, obviously. But all of our weapons are very, very young and very, very good on the offensive side of the ball. And getting rid of Derek Johnson, he was going to have a huge salary cap hit if we kept him. He was going to, I think it was going to demand a huge salary cap, is what some reports that I read. And we're going to start, getting guys like Reggie Ragland, who I thought was amazing against the run last year, and Ramik Wilson. We're going to be having those guys get more reps and get more playing time. And so I think that the direction of the team just kind of symbolizes why we traded Marcus Peters. He wasn't really getting along with the coaching staff. He was starting to be a nuisance on and off the field. And I thought that they said, you know what, we don't want to pay you. We want to go in a different direction. We want to get younger, head a certain way. And I think that that's why they traded him. So the effect around the organization, like fans, watchers, critics and stuff like that, not a good trade. But in terms of in the franchise, I can see why it was a trade that they wanted to do, but I'm still not the happiest about it. I thought that we should have kept him and paid him at least, or at least waited till he was a free agent, maybe tagged him, and if he was difficult in that tag year, then you let him go. So or let him walk in free agency. So, but at least now they're going to get something out of him. Instead of letting him go in free agency, we're going to be getting a quote-unquote litany of picks. The Chiefs' direction in terms of what I think they're doing and why I think they made this trade, I kind of just hinted at a little bit. They want to get younger. They want to develop their weapons. And although Marcus Peters was a young and very, very good weapon, he was just causing some problems in the front office, and I think that that's why they traded him. He wasn't very cooperative, I think is a good word to use. He wasn't very cooperative. He wasn't, a team leader, and he wasn't like a great guy. He's not like a Walter Payton Man of the Year award winner, because he got a lot of flags. He got kicked out of a game. He had some issues with the press, stuff like that. So I think that they just wanted to move on from him and move on to younger prospects. Maybe this opens up a position for us to draft a cornerback, a guy like Dante Jackson, or somebody like that in the second round. Maybe that, or Mike Hughes. Mike Hughes is another guy. So maybe that, opens up a lane for us to draft a cornerback. And for the Rams, as their direction, they're adding a piece to their already playoff ready defense. They're just adding a piece that's going to make them a lot better and a lot more versatile and a lot better against the pass. They're very good against the run. Aaron Donald's one of the best defensive players in the entire league. I think he is the best defensive player in the NFL, and he just has a huge impact on the game in the run and the pass, and nobody does it as good as he does it. So I think that surrounding weapons around him is where they need to go, and they need to start. They've already built their inside. Their inside is good. Their interior defensive line is tops in the NFL. They need to start building from the outside in, which they did in drafting LaMarcus Joyner a few years ago and drafting John Johnson last year. Kayvon Webster's very good. Nikel Roby-Coleman's very good, or he's okay. So those guys just surrounding Aaron Donald is what is going to make that team go. I think getting Marcus Peters helps that out a lot. And the last thing I want to talk about, I've said it a little bit throughout the entire video, but it's my personal opinion on the trade. I don't like it. I mean, I can support it, but I don't like it. I just thought that we should have kept Marcus Peters and maybe waited for him to get super difficult, or, waited till he started to fall off, have not so good seasons, waited till he was of age to where, we could let him go and go to a different team and be okay with it. I don't think that I'm necessarily okay with letting him go now. He had a very good season. I think he, in the first 3 seasons, in the first like 4 or 5 seasons of their career, only one player has more interceptions than he does, and that player is Ed Reed. So, I mean, you're comparing Marcus Peters' numbers to a guy like Ed Reed is absolutely insane. I mean, one of the best safeties of all time. But, I mean, Marcus Peters is going to go down as one of the best Chiefs ever, no doubt about it. The one thing that everybody knocked on him was there's 2 things. He didn't tackle very well, and he gambled a lot on passes. And those are the 2 things that everybody really knocked him for. But I'd rather you jump around and take one to the house, or I'm more comfortable with that than just, being too conservative and giving up a 45-yard touchdown. So I really enjoyed watching Marcus Peters play for the Chiefs. It's going to be hard seeing him go to a team like the Rams, who used to be in St. Louis. I think it makes it a little easier for me to digest now that they're in Los Angeles. But if they were still in St. Louis, God, I'd be absolutely raging right now. But that's my opinion on the whole trade. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section below. Let me know what you think they're going to get in terms of picks and what you think of the trade overall. In terms of, grades and stuff like that, for the Rams, I'd give it a B+. I wouldn't give it an A unless I find out what kind of picks they're gonna have to give up. If they're giving up 5, or if they're giving up 3 picks, it's an A. If they're giving up 4 or 5, it's a B or a B+ probably. And for the Chiefs, if they get 5 picks, it's a C+. It's a C+ if they get 5 picks. It's a C- if they get 3 or 4, because that's just my opinion on it. I don't think that it was a very good trade, but they are getting a lot in return. 5 players for 1, but you can't really, bank on all 5 of those players becoming as good as Marcus Peters was. You're probably only going to be able to get 1 or 2 guys who match that type of skill. So yeah, that's going to be it for the video, guys. Leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy. More content like this coming soon. Hopefully when free agency kicks up, there will be a lot more videos and a lot more stuff for me to talk about. The draft is rapidly approaching. I am going to be uploading more of those ranking series. I have a couple more videos made. I'm going to be uploading those in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that. I'm sorry I'm sounded so weird throughout this entire video. I've been kind of down in the dumps a little bit. My throat's just been bothering me over the last couple of days, so this will probably be the last video where I sound really weird. So yeah, that's going to do it for me, guys. This has been XLT signing out.